How's it going, guys? Dylan from Luxury Lives On, and I hope everyone's doing well today. Today I am standing in front of, well, one of the strangest convertibles ever made. But the strangest part about it is, well, Ferrari were the ones who made it. Now imagine yourself, you're 10 years old, you're sitting in your teacher's classroom, she's teaching, and of course what are you doing? You are scribbling on a piece of paper, let's say designing a car. But instead when she catches you and crumpling it up, she tells you, can you make that car a convertible? Well, if you were 10 and you needed to make a convertible, you'd probably do the same exact roof mechanism design that Ferrari did. It's silly, it's ridiculous, it's brilliant. Now there are a couple determinants that will help you determine that your car is going to be worth a lot more than what you paid for it. The first thing is a nice logo. Check. Second is low production numbers. Check. Alright, so a nice logo, low production numbers, and what that meant for this car is, well, they can fetch up to over $500,000 depending on the spec. And the stick shifts, which they made 43 of, well, they go for even more. In fact, at Sotheby's not too long ago, when we were in a big giant Ferrari bubble that made no sense, one of these I believe fetched almost $900,000. Now you're probably thinking, Dylan, I've seen these driving on the road, there's no way that car is worth that much money. But you have to understand this is a special version of a special version. Here's a brief history on the Maranello.
The 550 was a lower horsepower, first-gen version of the car, usually in manual transmissions. Then came the 550 Barchetta, which was a convertible attempt at the 550, but those roofs would fly off at a certain speed. Then they came out with the 575, more horsepower, and the front looks like it's smiling. And then they came out with the Superamerica, which was also an attempt at a convertible, but on the 575 body.
By the way, a brief apology if I'm profusely sweating. These lights work well for, well, lighting when you're filming, but not for human beings when they're sweating. Alright, now before we do a full walk around of the car, exterior and interior, let's briefly talk about the party piece, the elephant in the room, the weird roof. Now, as I said, it is essentially a giant piece of glass that does this. The roof mechanism is, well, geniusly simple, I guess you could say, from Ferrari. However, it does take 60 seconds to open, which is ridiculous compared to, well, the recent 720S convertible I did, which is the most beautiful mechanism, and it takes literally, well, a quarter of that. Now, you are probably thinking, Dylan's going to show you how this one works. However, I can't because, well, this will get scratched apparently if you don't fasten it properly. And so, yes, I understand it does look a bit ridiculous that I can't show you the roof mechanism on a video about a car with a weird roof. However, to talk about the car, as I said, it is a giant piece of glass, which I'm assuming could create a big greenhouse effect, which is probably why it's tinted. I'm not sure if it comes stock like that. It's framed in carbon fiber, very Ferrari, and there's a lot of funny little rubber mechanisms here, which I'm sure was a nightmare for them to figure out so there was no leaking issues, because these types of cars will notoriously have that. Now, because it is glass, like the 720, it actually creates a ton of visibility. So a sports car that's usually claustrophobic suddenly becomes very open. And even this rear window geniusly becomes, well, a natural rear window on a car. So it's quite a cool, weird roof. Now, to do a walk around of the exterior of the car, basically all of the Superamerica-esque things on it are obviously the big glass roof, the big crater it creates, this little gas cap, this strangely uplifted emblem, and another emblem. So that's what you get for your money, essentially, is a lazy roof. But to talk about, obviously this is a 575, which is before the 599, and essentially to tell the difference of the 575 is you have the bolted wheels, you have the smiley front, as I said, but funny little design cues on it are, just look how massive these headlights are, and then you have this really almost American styled front air vent, which is actually off to the side a little bit. So if you have OCD, and you probably do because you keep this perfectly, that's going to bother you. But it's just a really, really cool car. Obviously a big front haunch here for the big engine. And something I miss on Ferraris, the quad tail lights. So it's just a really, really long, cool, it almost looks like a prototype with this roof. It's pretty crazy. Now obviously I can't touch the roof and I don't want to touch the hood because it's an expensive car, but just to talk about the figures of this car, it has a giant V12, obviously derivative on all the Ferraris. It's used in the Enzo, it's used in the 599 as I said, but it is impressive because it produces over 533 horsepower, and this was a long time ago, and that allows it to reach 200 miles an hour and 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds, which is just all very impressive figures. Now as we move to the interior of the car, it's, well, a very pretty detailed place to be. Now obviously this is the classic interior of Ferraris in the early 2000-ish era, but it's really cool because, well, you have these Daytona seats, which obviously come from the 365 Daytona way back when. I can tell you they're not the most comfortable. We had a Ferrari 360 of the same era, and they're you kind of get hit with these little pillows here. But other things are, it's obviously a paddle shifter I mentioned to you. They made 43 of the Superamerica with a stick shift, but good luck with that. And I really like these little details here, these kind of like little inserts. And it's just a really cool place to be. A lot of visibility with the glass roof, not too claustrophobic. Not much place to store things, as these cars usually go, but it does have a rear trunk for that, which is a bit better than the 360. Sometimes we invent things out of necessity. Sometimes we even invent them out of laziness. And then every once in a while, a young kid becomes a billionaire because he creates a simple answer to a big question. Well, Ferrari created a question about convertibles and answered it with something so stupid it was brilliant. So Ferrari, here's to being lazy. Alright guys, so that is it. The Ferrari Superamerica, a car that, well, I've always wanted to film, and big thank you to Symbolic International for making a little boy's dream possible. And let's be honest, I'm here often because their inventory is so unique, so crazy. Guys, if you want to check them out, link below. If you want to see me on more things, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. If you want to see what kind of equipment I use, check the Amazon links below. Guys, if you liked the video, give it a like. If you want to see more of my content, please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.